First Contact's Price. The red dust of Mars swirled around Dr. Elena Santos as she stared at the massive door they'd uncovered beneath Olympus Mons. After 3 years of excavation, the discovery had left the entire archaeological team speechless. The metallic surface bore markings unlike anything humanity had ever seen, yet somehow felt eerily familiar. "Dr. Santos, you need to see this," her assistant, James Chen, called from the scanning station. "The energy readings, they're off the charts." Elena walked over, her boots crunching on the Martian soil. The portable scanner's display showed impossible numbers. Whatever lay behind that door was still active after what must have been millennia. "Get me a secure line to Earth Command," she ordered, unable to take her eyes off the readings. "They need to know what we found." But Earth Command already had bigger problems. At that very moment, Admiral David Chen stood in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching as dozens of unknown vessels appeared at the edge of the solar system. First Contact was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it came as an ultimatum. The alien ships hung in space like deadly jewels, their crystalline hulls refracting sunlight in ways that defied physics. The message they broadcast was short and clear. "Your species has been deemed too dangerous to allow unrestricted development. Submit to Federation oversight, or face immediate pacification." Admiral Chen's weathered face remained stoic as he addressed the United Earth Council. "Ladies and gentlemen, we always knew this day might come. That's why we prepared." For decades, humanity had watched the stars with equal parts hope and fear. They'd built up their defenses, constructed hidden facilities throughout the solar system, and developed technologies that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. But would it be enough? "The Federation fleet outnumbers us 10-1, General Sarah Martinez reported, her hologram flickering above the council table. "Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of our most advanced systems." "Numbers don't tell the whole story," Chen replied, bringing up the classified files from the Mars expedition. "Dr. Santos' team just made a discovery that changes everything. We found it, the facility the precursor texts spoke of." The council chamber erupted in murmurs. The precursor texts, found in fragments throughout human history, had hinted at an ancient human civilization that once reached the stars before being forced to start over. Most dismissed them as myths, but Admiral Chen and a select few knew better. "How long until the Federation fleet reaches Earth?" Chen asked. "At their current velocity, 72 hours, Martins answered. Chen nodded grimly. "Then we have 72 hours to wake up what's sleeping under Olympus Mons. Dr. Santos, you have full authorization. Whatever resources you need, they're yours." Back on Mars, Elena's team worked tirelessly to decode the door's locking mechanism. The Federation's ultimatum had reached them, adding desperate urgency to their task. Every hour brought the alien fleet closer to Earth. "The symbols," Elena muttered, tracing the patterns with her gloved hand. "They're not just decorative. They're a key, but they're waiting for something specific." James checked another set of readings. "Doctor, look at this. The door's surface temperature is rising. It's responding to your touch." Elena felt it then, a subtle vibration through her suit's glove. The door was scanning her at the genetic level, searching for something encoded in human DNA itself. The ancient builders had ensured their legacy would only answer to their descendants. The ground shook as massive machinery, dormant for thousands of years, began to wake. The door split along invisible seams, revealing a darkness that seemed to swallow light itself. As Elena's team ventured inside, floodlights revealed an impossible sight, a vast underground hangar stretching for kilometers, filled with ships of a design that made the Federation's fleet look primitive by comparison. They were sleek, predatory vessels painted in colors that absorbed rather than reflected light. But it was their size that took Elena's breath away. The smallest was larger than Earth's biggest battleship, and the largest, it dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. "This is Dr. Santos to Earth Command," she transmitted, her voice trembling with awe. "Admiral, we found them. We found the Dark Fleet." In Earth orbit, the Federation's advanced scout ships had already arrived. Their commander, Supreme Executor Vextal, watched the primitive human vessels with disdain. His species had overseen the pacification of dozens of emerging civilizations, and humans seemed no different. Their ships were crude, their weapons basic, and their defenses laughable. Simply another species that developed faster than their wisdom could grow. He commented to his subordinates, "Begin the standard pacification procedure. Disable their primary defense installations with targeted strikes. Once they see the futility of resistance, they'll accept Federation guidance like all the others." The first Federation strikes hit Earth's orbital defense platforms with surgical precision. Humanity's most advanced weapons couldn't even scratch their shields. But as Vextal prepared to demand Earth's surrender, new contacts appeared on his sensors. Massive ships were rising from Mars, unlike anything in Federation records. The Dark Fleet had awakened, and the galaxy was about to learn why ancient powers had feared humanity enough to force them to start over. The Federation had made a crucial mistake. They had given humanity exactly enough time to remember who they once were. Admiral Chen watched from Earth Command as the first of the Dark Fleet vessels took position around Mars. Their hull design absorbed both light and sensor scans, making them appear as voids in space itself. They were humanity's legacy, left by their ancestors as a final line of defense, waiting for the moment they would be needed most. "All Dark Fleet vessels reporting ready," Elena's voice came through, now from the bridge of the largest ship. Her genetic key hadn't just opened the door. It had linked her to the fleet's command systems. "Awaiting your orders, Admiral." Chen allowed himself a small smile. The Federation thought they were bringing civilization to a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something that would shake the foundations of their carefully ordered galaxy. The Federation wanted to meet humanity, he said, watching as more Dark Fleet ships rose from Mars. "Let's show them exactly who we are. All vessels, battle stations. Humanity stands free." The Dark Fleet rises. Supreme Executor Vextal had never seen anything like it. The void-black ships rising from Mars defied everything the Federation knew about human technological capabilities. His sensor officers worked frantically to analyze the vessels, but their scans simply slid off the dark hulls like water off glass. "Impossible," he muttered, watching as more ships emerged. "Their energy signatures. They're not using any known form of propulsion." The Dark Fleet moved with an eerie grace, their formations precise beyond anything Federation tactical computers could predict. At their head flew the largest vessel, a behemoth that seemed to bend space around itself. From its bridge, Dr. Elena Santos was experiencing something extraordinary. The ship's systems interfaced directly with her mind, feeding her information through neural pathways she never knew she had. The vessel, she now knew it was called Memory of Night, felt less like a ship and more like an extension of her own body. "All Dark Fleet vessels, maintain formation," she commanded, her thoughts translating instantly into ship-wide communications. "We are humanity's shield, and we will not fail." The Federation's advance fleet opened fire first, their energy weapons lighting up space with brilliant colors. But where their beams struck the Dark Fleet's hulls, they simply vanished. The ancient ships didn't reflect or deflect the attack. They absorbed it completely. Admiral Chen watched from Earth Command as the battle unfolded. "Dr. Santos, you have weapons authorization. Show them what those ships can do." Elena didn't need to input commands or press buttons. She simply thought, and the Memory of Night responded. Panels shifted along the vessel's hull, revealing weapon systems that operated on principles modern humanity had yet to rediscover. The ship fired, and space itself seemed to warp. The closest Federation vessel disappeared entirely, not destroyed but simply ceased to exist in this dimension. The others tried to scatter, but the Dark Fleet moved faster than their fastest ships, cutting off all retreat paths. This is Dr. Elena Santos to the Federation fleet. She broadcast on all frequencies. Your understanding of humanity is incomplete. We offer you one chance to withdraw. Vextel's response came quickly, tinged with both fear and defiance. What are you? These capabilities. No emerging species should have access to such technology. We're not emerging, Elena replied, the ship's databases feeding her knowledge that felt both ancient and familiar. We're remembering. The battle that followed would be spoken of for centuries in Federation space. The Dark Fleet moved like shadows between stars, their weapons ignoring shields and armor as if they weren't there. Federation ships found their most advanced systems simply shutting down in the presence of the ancient vessels. But it was the way the Dark Fleet coordinated that truly terrified them. Each ship moved in perfect synchronization with the others, as if guided by a single mind. In reality, they were guided by dozens of human minds, each connected to their vessels just as Elena was to hers. James Chen, Elena's former assistant, commanded a smaller ship he now knew as Whisper of Dawn. The neural interface had shown him memories of humanity's past glory, of a time when their civilization spanned galaxies. They didn't just leave us ships, he communicated to Elena. They left us our history. The Federation fleet's formation broke. Supreme Executor Vextel watched in horror as ship after ship vanished, their crews transported safely but randomly throughout Federation space. The Dark Fleet wasn't just defeating them. It was demonstrating power so far beyond their understanding that resistance was meaningless. Full retreat, Vextel ordered, his pride shattered. All ships, emergency jump tow. His words cut off as his flagship's systems went dark. The memory of night loomed before him, its hull drinking in all light, creating an artificial night in the space around it. Elena's voice echoed through his ship's corridors. Your Federation sought to guide humanity's development, but you failed to ask a crucial question. What if we had already developed, fallen, and risen again? In Earth Command, Admiral Chen received the reports with grim satisfaction. The Federation fleet was in full retreat, their mighty armada scattered by ships humanity had built eons ago. But he knew this was just the beginning. Dr. Santos, he called. What else did they leave us in that facility? Elena stood on the memory of Night's Bridge, surrounded by displays showing information that was rewriting humanity's understanding of their own history. Everything, Admiral. They left us everything. Star maps of civilizations we've yet to rediscover, technologies we once mastered, and warnings about what forced them, us, to hide it all away. The Dark Fleet regrouped around Mars, their black hulls now familiar rather than threatening to the watching humans. They were humanity's inheritance, a gift from their own ancestors, waiting until they were needed most. But as Elena sifted through the ancient data streaming into her mind, she found something troubling. The Federation wasn't the threat the Dark Fleet was built to face. Something else was coming, something that had hunted humanity before. Admiral, she transmitted, her voice grave. We need to talk about what really happened to our ancestors and why they hid this fleet. The Federation. They're not our enemy. They're running from the same thing we once ran from. The stars seemed darker somehow as humanity prepared to face not just the Federation's wrath, but the ancient horror that had forced their civilization to hide itself away and start anew. The Dark Fleet had risen again, but this time they would not run. Turning point. The Federation's Grand Council chamber fell silent as Supreme Executor Vextel's report concluded. The holographic display showed the Dark Fleet in action, their impossible ships moving through Federation defenses as if they weren't there. But it was his next words that truly shook them. The humans call them the Devourers, Vextel said, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. According to their recovered records, these entities were responsible for the collapse of their ancient civilization. And now, after millennia of silence, they're returning. The Council erupted in chaos. The Federation had spent centuries believing they were the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Now they faced evidence not only of humanity's ancient power, but of a threat that had once brought that power to its knees. On the memory of night, Elena Santos watched the Federation's deliberations through channels they thought secure. The Dark Fleet's technology made their best encryption look like simple code. "They're afraid," she communicated to Admiral Chen. The Federation's entire philosophy was built on being the guardians of younger races. Learning that one of their primitive charges was actually an elder race in hiding. It's shattering their worldview. Chen's hologram nodded grimly. "And now they have to face the reason we hid. The Devourers are real, Elena. Long-range sensors are detecting their approach. They'll reach the outer solar system in less than a week." The Devourers. The name came from the ship's ancient databases, along with images that haunted Elena's dreams. They weren't merely aliens, they were something fundamentally different from all known life. They consumed not just matter and energy, but space-time itself, leaving absolute void in their wake. "The Federation needs to understand what we're facing," Elena said. "Memory of night. Prepare a data package. Show them everything." The ship complied, accessing records that had been sealed for thousands of years. The truth of humanity's fall was both simpler and more terrifying than anyone had imagined. The Devourers hadn't just defeated humanity's ancient civilization. They had consumed entire galaxies, forcing the survivors to hide their remaining technology and start over on Earth, seeding false evidence of gradual evolution to mask their true origins. In Federation space, the data package caused a fundamental shift in policy. Within hours, Federation ships were no longer approaching Earth as conquerors, but as supplicants, seeking to combine their forces with the Dark Fleet. Supreme Executor Vextal found himself aboard the Memory of Night, standing before the human leaders he had so recently threatened. "Our weapons proved useless against your ships," he admitted. "How can they possibly affect these Devourers?" Elena interfaced with the ship's systems, bringing up ancient battle footage. The Dark Fleet wasn't built to fight conventional enemies. It was designed specifically to combat the Devourers. Each ship's hull is made of materials that exist partially outside normal spacetime, the only thing that can truly harm them. "Why didn't your ancestors use these weapons before?" Vextal asked. "They did," James Chen replied from his position on Whisper of Dawn. "But the Devourers were too numerous. Humanity couldn't save everything, so they chose to preserve what they could. They hid away their best weapons and most important knowledge, knowing that someday they would be needed again." The combined human and Federation forces prepared for battle. The Dark Fleet took point, with Federation ships modified with what little ancient technology could be adapted to their systems in time. But as they waited for the enemy's arrival, Elena made a discovery that changed everything. "Admiral," she called urgently. "The Mars facility. It's not just a hangar. The entire planet is a weapon. The ships were just the key to activating it." The ancient humans hadn't just hidden away their fleet. They had transformed Mars itself into a massive device, its core replaced with technology that could tear holes in reality. But using it would require a sacrifice. The power requirements, Elena explained to the assembled leaders. It would consume Mars entirely. One shot, one chance to hit the Devourers' main mass before they can react. But we'll lose everything we've just discovered about our past. Admiral Chen looked at the tactical displays showing the Devourers' approach. They were visible now, massive distortions in space that defied natural law. "Our ancestors sacrificed everything to give us this chance. We can't waste it." The next few days were a blur of preparation. Federation ships evacuated the Mars facilities, while the Dark Fleet prepared to guide the planet's power to its target. Elena and her crew worked to extract as much data as possible from the facility, saving what they could of humanity's true history. As the Devourers entered the solar system, reality itself seemed to warp around them. Stars disappeared as the entities consumed their light, creating an expanding darkness that threatened to swallow everything in its path. Elena stood on the Memory of Night's bridge, watching as the ancient weapon beneath Mars' surface powered up. The Dark Fleet moved into formation around the planet, their hulls resonating with energies that hadn't been wielded in thousands of years. "All ships, battle positions," she commanded. "Our ancestors faced this evil alone. This time, humanity stands with allies. This time, we end it." The final battle for existence itself was about to begin. And this time, humanity wasn't running. The hunter becomes the hunted. The void where Jupiter should have been told Elena everything she needed to know about the Devorer's power. The gas giant hadn't been destroyed. It had been consumed, along with its moons, leaving nothing but absolute emptiness in its wake. Not even light could exist in the space where the Devorers fed. "They're stronger than before," she transmitted to the combined fleet. The ancient records didn't show them capable of consuming something Jupiter's size so quickly. The memory of night sensors tracked the Devorer's approach. They weren't ships or beings in any conventional sense. They were tears in reality itself, spreading like cancer through space-time. The Federation fleet's advanced sensors couldn't even detect them directly, only the absence they left behind. "All ships, hold formation," Admiral Chen commanded from Earth Command. "Remember the plan. We only get one shot at this." Mars hummed with power beneath them, its core transformed by ancient technology into a weapon of unimaginable power. The Dark Fleet had arranged itself in a precise pattern around the planet, their unique hulls designed to channel and direct the energy when the time came. Elena felt the memory of Night's systems interfacing more deeply with her mind as the ship prepared for battle. Through it, she could sense the other Dark Fleet vessels, each connected to their human commanders in the same way. They were no longer individual ships but parts of a greater whole. "Federation vessels, maintain your distance," she broadcast. "Your shields won't protect you from what's coming." Supreme Executor Vextal, now coordinating the Federation forces, acknowledged from his flagship. The Federation ships took up defensive positions around Earth, their last line of defense if the plan failed. They had modified their weapons with principles learned from the Dark Fleet, but against the Devorers, they were little more than a distraction. The first attack came without warning. A tendril of void reached out from the main mass of Devorers, attempting to envelop one of the Dark Fleet ships. But the ancient vessel's hull flared with impossible energies, existing partially outside normal spacetime, immune to the Devorer's feeding. "Now," Elena commanded, "all ships, engage containment protocols." The Dark Fleet moved as one, their formations creating a complex geometric pattern in space. Energy began to flow between the ships, guided by the principles their ancestors had discovered millennia ago. They weren't trying to destroy the Devorers. They were trying to trap them. "Mars facility is at 90% power," James reported from Whisper of Dawn. "The reaction is building faster than predicted. We're running out of time." Elena watched through the memory of Night's sensors as reality began to warp around them. The Devorers sensed the trap and reacted, their void mass splitting into smaller entities, trying to evade the Dark Fleet's pattern. But the ancient ships adjusted instantly, their neural-linked commanders working in perfect synchronization. "They're learning," Elena realized, watching the Devorers' movements. "They remember how humanity fought them before. They're trying to break our formation before we can activate the weapon." A massive void tendril lashed out, aimed not at the ships but at Mars itself. The memory of Night reacted instantly, moving to intercept. The impact sent reality-warping energies cascading through the ship's hull, and Elena felt every bit of it through her neural link. "Elena," Admiral Chen's voice cut through her pain. "The weapon's charging sequence is destabilizing. We need that containment field now." Through gritted teeth, Elena reached deeper into her connection with the ship. The memory of Night's true power wasn't in its weapons or defenses. It was in its ability to manipulate the very fabric of spacetime. All the Dark Fleet ships had this power, but none were as powerful as the flagship. "All ships, full power to temporal anchors," she commanded. "We're not trying to hold them back. We're going to pull them in." The Dark Fleet's formation shifted, their energy patterns changing from a containment grid to something more like a net. They weren't just creating a barrier. They were bending space itself, forcing the Devourers toward Mars. The void entities fought back with impossible force. Two Federation ships that ventured too close simply ceased to exist, their crews and hulls consumed instantly. But the Dark Fleet held firm, their ancient technology the only thing in the galaxy capable of affecting these cosmic horrors. Mars' core is reaching critical, James warned. The containment field won't hold much longer. Elena felt the memory of night straining against forces that shouldn't exist in normal space. The ship's hull creaked with energies that could tear apart reality itself. But through her neural link, she could also feel something else. A resonance with the weapon built into Mars, a connection that went deeper than technology. Our ancestors didn't just leave us weapons, she realized. They left us understanding. The Dark Fleet, the Mars weapon, they're not just tools. They're a key to comprehending what the Devourers really are. Through the ship's systems, Elena began to see patterns in the void entities' movements, mathematics that described their impossible nature. The Devourers weren't just consuming reality. They were trying to change it, to rewrite the fundamental laws of space-time itself. All ships, synchronize with my signal, she broadcast. The weapon isn't just going to destroy them, it's going to rewrite them. We're going to change their very nature. The Dark Fleet's energy patterns shifted one final time, guided by understanding that had waited millennia to be rediscovered. Mars began to glow with power that defied comprehension, its entire mass about to be converted into something that existed outside normal physics. As the final sequence began, Elena had one last thought. Humanity hadn't just survived the Devourers in ancient times, they had learned from them. And now, that knowledge would be their undoing. The solar system held its breath as Mars began to tear itself apart, its substance converting into pure energy under the guidance of the Dark Fleet. The trap was set, the weapon was armed, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they had once been feared by horrors from beyond space-time itself. Dawn of a new era. Mars died in light. The red planet's surface cracked like an eggshell, ancient machinery converting its entire mass into pure energy. Through her neural link with memory of night, Elena felt the power surge through the Dark Fleet's formation. Their ship's quantum-shifted hulls channeled energies that shouldn't exist in normal space, focusing them into a single point of impossible potential. The Devourers sensed the trap too late. Their void mass churned and writhed, trying to escape the Dark Fleet's containment field, but the ancient ships held firm. Humanity's last gift from their ancestors would not be wasted. All ships, brace for temporal shock, Elena broadcast. This is going to rewrite local space-time. The weapon didn't just fire, it transformed. Mars collapsed into a singularity of pure energy, guided by the Dark Fleet's formation. But unlike a normal singularity that consumed everything around it, this one targeted the Devourers specifically. It was alive with the same principles that governed their existence, turned back against them. The void entities screamed in frequencies that shouldn't exist. Elena felt it through the ship's sensors, the sound of reality itself being rewritten. The Devourers weren't being destroyed. They were being changed at the most fundamental level. Energy conversion at maximum, James reported from Whisper of Dawn. The containment field is starting to buckle. Through the memory of Night's advanced sensors, Elena watched as the impossible happened. The Devourers, entities that had terrorized galaxies by consuming space-time itself, were being transformed. Their void mass began to crystallize, forced to exist within the normal laws of physics. Federation Fleet, stand by, Admiral Chen ordered. Prepare to engage the secondary targets. As the main mass of Devourers was forced into normal space, smaller void entities tried to escape. But the Federation ships were ready. Their weapons, modified with Dark Fleet principles, fired precise bursts that caught the crystallizing fragments. One by one, the cosmic horrors that had haunted humanity's ancestors were corralled and transformed. Supreme Executor Vextal watched in awe from his flagship. "Impossible," he whispered. "They're not just fighting them. They're changing the fundamental nature of their existence." The memory of Night's hull groaned under forces that threatened to tear it apart. Alina felt every strain through her neural link, but she also felt something else. Victory. The Devourers weren't just being defeated, they were being remade into something that could no longer threaten existence itself. "Final phase," she commanded. "All ships, prepare for dimensional seal." The Dark Fleet's formation shifted one last time. The energy that had been Mars reached critical mass, creating a cascade effect that spread through the transformed Devourers. Where there had been void entities that consumed reality, there were now crystalline structures that existed firmly within it. The battle was over, but the cost had been enormous. Mars was gone, its substance converted into the energy needed to change the Devourers. Several Dark Fleet ships had been torn apart by the forces they had channeled. But Earth was safe, and humanity had proven itself to be more than anyone had imagined. In the aftermath, Alina stood on the Memory of Night's bridge, watching as Federation ships helped collect the crystalline remains of the Devourers. Each fragment was a piece of impossible physics made real, a testament to humanity's ability to understand and change even the most terrifying forces in the universe. "The Federation Council is convening," Admiral Chen informed her. "They want to know what happens next." Alina smiled. Through the ship's databases, she had access to humanity's true history, not just their fall, but their greatest achievements. "We show them who we really are," she replied. "Not conquerors, not victims, but teachers." The Federation, which had once fought to guide humanity's development, now found themselves learning from the very species they had dismissed as primitive. The Dark Fleet's technology, combined with the Federation's resources, promised to usher in a new age of exploration and understanding. "There are more Devourers out there," James reminded them during the council meeting. "What we fought was just one group." "Then we'll be ready," Alina declared. "Our ancestors hid their legacy to protect it, but they always intended for us to reclaim it when the time was right. Now we can share that knowledge, help other civilizations defend themselves." Supreme Executor Vextal, speaking for the Federation, formally recognized Earth's status as an elder race. The Federation's mission changed from guiding younger species to helping them prepare for threats from beyond normal space. And at the forefront of this new era stood the Dark Fleet, its ships a reminder of humanity's past glory and future potential. The crystalline remains of the Devourers were studied carefully, yielding insights into physics that transformed scientific understanding across the galaxy. Humanity's ancient knowledge, combined with Federation resources, led to developments that would have seemed like magic just years before. As Alina prepared the Memory of Night for its next mission, she reflected on how far humanity had come. They had faced extinction, hidden their true nature, and emerged stronger than ever. The Dark Fleet would no longer hide in the shadows of Mars. It would lead the galaxy's defense against horrors from beyond spacetime. "Ready to depart," James called from Whisper of Dawn. Alina looked out at the combined fleet of human and Federation ships, all modified with principles learned from the Dark Fleet. The crystal fragments of transformed Devourers glittered in their cargo holds, a testament to humanity's ability to change even the unchangeable. "Set course for the Galactic core," she commanded. "It's time to wake up the rest of humanity's legacy." The Dark Fleet moved out, no longer alone in their mission. They had reminded the galaxy why humanity had once been both feared and respected. But more importantly, they had shown that the greatest power wasn't in weapons or technology, but in the ability to understand, adapt, and change the very nature of reality itself. The age of hiding was over. The dawn of a new era had begun, and humanity would face it standing tall, ready to defend not just Earth, but all of existence against whatever horrors lurked in the darkness between stars.